There it is.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? Ever wonder
Hey.
what happens when the market change? Buyers change,
What happens?
sellers change. Let's find out how we make a change.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros.
All right, we obviously need to work on the timing on that one.
Yeah, we'll get better on that.
We're getting good for a little
throws it
bit there. We're getting good for a little bit there, but it's all good. Well, before we go any further, let me give this intro really quick. Is it just me, or are people spending money differently this way? And not just because of COVID. Today's guest brings us what he calls the mongrel method, sales and marketing for a new breed of buyers. Hang out with us today while we learn from an expert and Amazon best-selling author about the digital transformation, especially now, and its impact on sales and marketing. This is sure to provide you with exceptional value and education. So without further ado, give a warm Business Bros Pod welcome to Steve De Mamiel.
Guys, great to be with you.
Oh, that's what we need. We need an applause track.
We do need an applause track. That's right.
Oh, man.
That's
All
the
right.
next one. All right. Add it to the list. Mark
Add
it
it to the
down.
list.
All right, Steve, welcome to the program. Tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so aren't we living and breathing the digital transformation right now? So I'm the author of a book called The Mongrel Method. And I'm also a director of Hostopia in Australia. So, we look after about 150,000 small businesses, help them make or be successful online. So I do a fair bit of sales and marketing, training and consulting as well. Yep.
So you help them get their sales done online, you said. How long has your company shifted in that direction?
Sorry, say again?
How long has your company been working on the online sales section?
Look, for a long time. I think, over the last 5 years, we've seen this significant shift from, salespeople out knocking on doors and making cold calls or trying to warm calls up to dealing with a buyer now that's 70% of the way through their purchasing decision before they even talk to a salesperson. So, I think we're living and breathing it right now where we can't be out making sales calls and people are doing that research and discovering all about solving their problem or gaining a benefit with what they're looking to buy online, looking at forums and other places where they're getting that third party or, social confirmation of they're headed, down the right path and this product or service will solve that problem for them. And, I think that's accelerated it for a lot of businesses who are now feeling the pain of having salespeople locked up inside and relying on their website and their other online channels to engage with buyers for them.
So it's crazy because your book kind of talks about it a little bit where you come from a time when it was all about door knocking, all about picking up the phone, all about making that first initial contact. Then you started to shift and you started to do things online, which was, a big push. And we were doing a lot of things online. And then all of a sudden, about 8 weeks ago, we hit into this whole new era of everybody's at home. They're all stuck at home. Now it's almost 100% of almost everything you do shopping online because you don't want to be in contact with other people. How is this affecting your strategy, your marketing strategy when you consult with businesses?
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people, it's accelerated it. And it depends where they are through that journey. So if they've accepted that this is where it was going and started to move marketing more to the front and center, and that's the engine that drives things for the salespeople, they've survived reasonably well over the last 2 months. For those who have been, marketing's been this adjunct that looked after advertising and events, those sort of things, those companies are really struggling. because the machine is not generating new business. And I've even gone a step further, and I've always said, it needs to be mobile led. It needs to be about a small screen, not a desktop. It intrigues me that, everybody gets up and what's the first thing they do in the morning? They pick up a mobile phone, and they often will end the day with a mobile phone looking at that small screen. Yet when it comes to building their e-com, their website, talking to their customers, they'll design it around a big screen. But they know themselves that it's all about a small screen. It really needs to be about mobile first. And if you're designing that marketing lead generation piece and you're not doing it around that small screen, you're immediately got a problem.
So are you saying essentially that the way we used to do business before is gone? Like there's no more retail shopping. I mean, that's going to be going pretty much out the window. What's going to happen to our malls and places where I used to hang out when I was a kid? Are all those things just gone?
I wouldn't say they're gone, because there's the whole experience thing going on amongst all of that. We all want to get out of the house. We all want to interact with people. We want to have a conversation and learn things and touch and feel and those sort of things. But the difference now is we're turning up, and as I said before, we're 70% away through that journey. We've got these views and biases and our heads full of opinions as a result of all of that market research we've done. We've scrolled through Facebook and the relevant pages that, those groups where people are chatting about those things we're making a decision about. And by the time we walk into that shop, unless the salesperson that we're standing in front of us is helping us complete that journey and enable that sale, they're just fighting against everything that we've already decided before we walk into the store.
So in other words, there is a possibility for them to survive. There's just a different type of model that they're going to have to structure. So in business, I've come to the conclusion with many people that I've talked to, it's not really that they have, when it comes to sales process, it's not really that they have a lead generation problem. Most people have a lead follow-up problem. We can make that initial connection. We can make that initial interview, maybe even, have that cup of coffee or whatever it's going to be. But we fall off in sales usually after the fact. We assume now that we've made a connection, you know what I do, I know what you do. You're going to send me all the business that I need. I'm going to send you all the business that you need. It doesn't always work that way. How have you seen, or what are you guys doing to help people get through that follow-up process in a newer way, in a new marketing environment?
Yeah, so I think you're onto something there. Salespeople give up way too soon. They'll make a couple of contacts and the person may not be ready yet, and they'll let it go and they'll move on to the next hot lead that marketing might have supplied.
That's good. One less thing.
So I think, yes, salespeople need to, be persistent, keep following up, and there needs to be a compelling reason as to why they drop it. But they also need to get marketing and build this, lead follow-up and this machine that keeps those leads warm and engaged. So a lot of people use marketing just simply to attract a lead in, but there's also those people who are just not there yet. They're 30% of the way in the journey. And I talk about customer intent. You need to be looking for customer intent. What are those things that the customer needs to do to show they're actually in the final stages of that purchasing decision? Now, that'll vary depending on the type of product or service that you offer. But, if you're selling home kitchens and permits need to be building permits need to be supported in your area beforehand, and the customer's not done that and not invested in that, they're not about to buy your shiny new kitchen. They might be in those very early stages. Now, I'd argue that in that scenario, the salesperson doesn't forget about them. You use your marketing tools to keep them engaged, and you be, supplying them good relevant content to help them complete that purchase. The salesperson might be touching base with them every now and then, but salespeople need to do a lot more follow-up, and marketing also needs to be that mechanism to keep those early leads that are warm, but they're not ready to make a purchasing decision, still engage with your business.
They're like so close to getting it done. And oftentimes it's funny because I think in a group, they're talking about how good of a salesperson or how many leads they met. They met this new person, this new client, and yet like they don't actually close the deal all the way. You know what I mean? It's just sitting there.
Dude, I almost had you.
Like exactly. Like they almost had the deal, but it slips through their fingertips. And the most upsetting thing that you find out when you talk to why we talk to real estate agents, insurance agents a lot. The most upsetting thing is you make that initial contact, you realize that you haven't followed up, and then it turns out that they close the deal, right? That they purchased the house with somebody else, or they purchased the insurance with somebody else, and you were one of the first initial contacts.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, exactly. How you like them apples? And you always turn around and you get upset at the outside situation rather than looking internal at, well, what did I do? What mistake did I make? Did I come in asking how I could help them? What values or what did I not supply them? Oftentimes, no is just not the no like N-O, it's the N-O-W. Like the client just doesn't know enough information to make a decision.
Yeah. And that's where the salesperson's got to learn to get persistent. Not persistent and annoying, but engaged, and keep being engaged. And if they don't know, what is it they don't know? And what have you got in your briefcase, in your content folder that might help them progress down that path? And, I do all sorts of things to keep people engaged. I might see relevant content, online newspapers, anything like that might be useful to them, and I'll share that with them, and that'll keep me top of mind. It'll show that I'm engaged with the things that they're thinking about that matters to them, that shows that I'm tuned into their problem. And those little things often will just keep you engaged with that customer without becoming that annoying salesperson that rings up and just says, hey, I'm following up, are you ready to make a decision? They're the people that you drop and you move on to the next supplier.
Oh yeah, totally. You don't, yeah. If you're the type of person who constantly calls and just says, hey, I'm following up, are you ready to buy? Hey, you're following up, are you ready to buy? Your sales career will be That's the end of it. That's the end of it right there.
That's exactly it.
But every single time you talk to a client, regardless of whether they're ready to buy, if you're coming at this situation with a value proposition, something that may not be the exact thing that they're looking for, but you're bringing them something of value each time, you facilitate a relationship where they may not buy from you, but they may be a referral source. So there's an opportunity there at some point in the future that a deal can happen.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And that's right.
Yeah. Don't burn bridges. There's a lot to be said for that. And you may not get this deal, but like you said, referrals. A very long time ago, I used to be in the rag trade, and what I found was people in that stage of buying those suits. So were all of their colleagues and friends and those sort of things, and most business came from referral. And some people would walk in, wouldn't buy anything, didn't want to spend the money, didn't like the style or whatever, but their friends they knew would suit what I had on offer, and they'd send them in. So, we wouldn't get upset that we didn't do a deal with that person on that day, didn't buy something from us. It didn't suit them, but they certainly knew their friends and colleagues that we did suit and would send them our way.
It's funny how that's what ends up happening, right? It's amazing how that constant communication can take your business to a whole different level. And I think that's a lot of times where people fall short is in nurturing that circle of influence that you already have. So I'm going to ask you, because I'm curious about this. Now that we have a more of a modern age of trying to stay in front of that client and having a sense of how do I continue to follow up and stay relevant with my circle of influence, I've come across podcasting as one of the most amazing tools that I've ever come across when it comes to meeting new people, prospecting, honestly, because I can pretty much ask anybody, hey, I have a podcast. Would you like to be on my show? And they all say yes. Very few people say no, versus when I would knock on doors or, even at an open house, asking the same type of question, hey, can I sit down and talk to you? Most of them say no, right? It's a complete opposite effect. I take my long form content, I chop it up into smaller pieces, and I repurpose it on my social media platforms so that people are constantly seeing more of what I have to offer. And I also compile an email list of people who want to be part of our network, people who have been on our show, people who are just interested in the different products that we've put together. And it's become a great way using technology today to stay in front of the client.
Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Exactly. And so, I was kind of wondering what your thoughts were on the podcasting space and how it could help one promote their business or market their business.
Yeah, so look, I think podcasting is where it's at. I don't run a podcast because there's some real discipline and consistency required around it. My book sales go up and down depending on how recently the last podcast was. When people are looking to get me to look at a piece of work, they're obviously Googling, what I'm saying around sales and marketing, and those podcasts come up. So, podcasts is where it's at. Radio, TV, they're all dead. People are sitting on public transport, probably less so today, but they're all listening to podcasts. Everybody wants content on demand, and podcasts are a great way to do it.
So using the podcast content strategy, is it a method that you're recommending any of your clients along the way to establish a brand and then really set it into play with their audience? Brand building is not the easiest thing to do. You look at it, established brands like Nike or Snickers or whatever those big brands are, and they're huge. They spend a ton of money staying in front of people all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like to kind of redefine is what an influencer is today, right? We think of an influencer and we think of somebody who has 1 million followers and, all this kind of stuff. But you or I are an influencer amongst our own small sphere, whether it's, the 100 people we talk to the most, the 50 people we talk to the most. We are an influence in what it is that they think and what they see and how they what perspectives they have in the world. And the more content that you create to put out that is focused on your message, that is focused on what it is that you do, the better it is for your business. I mean, I don't know about you, but in your circle of influence, your close friends and family, you might know what it is they do in general, but you might not know exactly what they do unless they're the few people who actually tell you. Isn't that the case?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Look, the big issue when you're buying a service is, who do you select? Who do you trust to deliver the best value? And, today you get online and you look for their content. Do you relate to what they're offering? Do you believe their content? Do they sound knowledgeable? Do they have some sort of domain expertise? Podcasting, YouTube, all of those sort of things, perfect channels to demonstrate that. And I think a lot of people these days are looking for that social confirmation before they make a decision as to which supplier or provider they go with.
All right, let me ask you this then. People have been affected by this whole COVID situation, whether it was something like they lost their job or they had to let go of employees or they're downsizing and working from home, whatever the situation is. In most cases, budgets have been cut and constrained and people have been, pulling back on the spend. Oftentimes they pull back on marketing. And it always worries me when companies during down markets pull back on their marketing, because this is when you should actually be doubling down and kind of getting more exposure and focusing more on revenue rather than cutting costs. What is it that you're seeing with the businesses that you speak to? What advice are you giving them?
Yeah, so at the moment, you're right. A lot of people are chopping marketing. So marketing and R&D or product development, or if you're in a service content development, this is the time to double down on it. And the wonderful thing is Facebook advertising, Google advertising, the pricing's collapsed. For keywords, a lot of are down 30 and 50%. So you're getting sensational value at the moment, and they're only down because all your competitors have gone away. So if you've got a business that you've struggled to get some penetration, now's the time, because your competitors are turned off the tap and you're actually getting great value for your marketing dollar right now.
That's great information to know, because that really pushes my whole agenda, which is you should have a podcast. Like, if you are starting a business, I don't know how many times
Today, Junior.
Yes, you need to start having a podcast. I wouldn't even go with today. You need to have started yesterday. This is your opportunity right now where you can be creating content. You can be repurposing the content. You can be sticking it and paying for small boosts or Facebook ads and target your own groups or whatever it is. Create lookalike audiences with your email list and all these different sorts of marketing campaigns to push your customers in the direction of where you want them to go, into a funnel, into your email campaigns, whatever it's going to be. But right now is the time to be putting out content. And for me, using this interview process, it does twofold. I meet somebody new every single day, right? I've never met you before, Steve, ever until today in person. But now we're associated. If I needed help or I needed, to reach out, I have now made and established this connection. Second, you have knowledge of years of experience that you're not only sharing with me, you're sharing with the audience. And that's a tremendous point of view. And then I can repurpose this and bring it to more and more people that have yet to see the Business Bros podcast or have yet to connect with you. So it's a huge opportunity, and it's very, very inexpensive to get started.
Yeah, well, and a great time to be promoting it as well right now, while all that advertising so much cheaper.
Oh, 100%. Whoops, playing with the cameras here. This one. There we go. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your experience in writing a book. Over this last, I don't know, when COVID started about 8 weeks ago, I sat down and started writing out my process for podcasting, and it ended up becoming my ebook called The Power of Podcasting. It's what I'm helping people develop their own podcast. But it's helped me become a better podcaster because I literally wrote out every single one of my steps. Tell me a little bit about your process in writing your book. How did it help you in your career?
Yeah, well, like you, I found that I became better at sales and marketing by actually going through the discipline of writing the book. So, over your career, you find, I had a collection of great stories that, when I would speak, people would go, they'd recall a story, and I'd get all these little snippets. And occasionally I'd remember them, and sometimes I'd walk out and go, I should have, made this point. But actually going through the discipline of writing the book cemented it in my mind and gave me it together as a complete collection. Now, writing a book is hard work, and it requires some discipline, lots, to sit down and start it and get it finished and get it published. Anybody who's been through the exercise will tell you it's a big effort, but certainly, like your marketing campaign or your sales campaign, it needs a process, and you need to get clear on that process and follow it. For me, it was about making sure, we were clear on the theme and the outline, and then building that out, and having a time frame around it. We're going to get it done by this date, and focus on actually getting it done, and then making sure that you've told everybody you're going to get it done by this date, and having some support around you. And for me, that was an editor that said, no, this is rubbish, we need to do this, I don't understand that, we need to get clear around the message here. If you're going to write a book, make sure you're up for the discipline.
You know, it's funny that you talk about that discipline, because I am one of these. My only skill, my only superhero skill that I think I have is when I say I'm going to do something, I commit to it, and I do it on a regular basis. So, you know, when I said I'm going to get up and run every morning, well, I've been doing it for, I don't know, quite a long time. I get up at 4:30 every morning. I start running by 5 a.m. and I do it. And there's times where I don't want to.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I still get out there and do it, right? Do or do not, exactly like Yoda. And when it comes down to writing the book, that was one thing that I would do is the first thing I would do after, you know, I'm showered, when I sit down at my desk, was I had to pump out a page or two or whatever it is of the book that I was writing. I was determined to get it done. So it was that one thing that I put on my plate to get done. For me, you know, developing a lot of these habits has been one small habit at a time. So I still do my run, and now in the morning, I'm like, look, I need to get better at following up with my people and staying in contact. I need to make sure I write an email blast that goes out to my email list every single day. So it's the first thing I do. And then after that, I have to create my piece of content that's going to go on social media. And it's just having these little things. They're not super time consuming. I just don't always want to do them. It's like going for a run. I don't want to go for the run, but I know that it's part of my process. And if I can get through the process, I will achieve the result that I want to achieve.
Losers always whine about their best.
So whether it's writing a book or going for a run, it's about, chunking it down and at least getting started. And for me, you know, sometimes I was thinking, you know, I'm never going to write, in this case, it was 30-odd thousand words. But, you know, those mornings where I didn't want to do it, I'd at least sit down and knock out a page, and that page might go away, in 6 months' time because the editor said, "Hey, that's complete rubbish," but at least set me up for the next morning to get up, and on the next morning I might knock out 600 words. But it was just forming the habit and having the discipline, and it's exactly the same in sales. You've got to have that habit of chasing the business and following up leads and being clear about what you need to achieve and just getting it done. And sometimes you might do a small amount, and other days you might be in the flow and do 3 times the amount. But there's no point in saying, "Hey, I'm not in the mood today, I'm going to do 0, because that sets you up for failure down the track.
And that's the thing about business too. There are some very successful business owners, entrepreneur people out there that are not very smart. It's not that they have super genius skills. What they've learned is to master their time and to always be taking a step forward. It's the whole, tortoise and the hare race, right? It doesn't matter if you're flying by. If you're consistently moving in a forward direction, you're gaining distance over your competition who's standing still. And that's always, one of those big, monumentous thing, huge thoughts in my head is, even if I only wrote 1 page like you were talking about, or even if I only wrote my 1 email today, and that's all I did, I still moved forward today. And that is where the progress is. This is where love the process. I don't like running, or I don't like typing the email. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's my process. And because I take a step every day, I'm going to achieve a level of success that my competition won't, because they don't take those necessary steps. Not because they're better than me, or not because I'm better than them. It's just I'm willing to take that step when they're not.
Yeah, look, I agree 100% with that. We hear a lot about, knowledge is power and knowledge is wealth. I would argue today that that's not the case. The knowledge is out there. You can get on Google. You can find the answer. The power and the money is actually in execution today.
100% agree. The execution is key, and it's not going to work every single time. There's going to be times where you make mistakes, you fail, but again, it's that moving forward in that right direction that's gonna get you there. There is no guarantee. There's no 100% guarantee.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Exactly. 60% of the time works every time.
At least give yourself that 60%. Yeah. And I think it's like anybody in business, they would say, looking back at what's worked for them over the last, couple of years, it's those 20% of the moves that have actually created real value. and the other stuff hasn't worked. It's been a failure. In our business, testing is a big part of it. A/B testing, we do it all the time, and we expect that half it's not going to be, half it's not going to work, but we find those little nuggets that work and actually give us a great result. We don't sit around and go, no, that's a dumb idea, that may not work. We just go, hey, that's an idea, and try it out and test it and expect that a lot of stuff will fail. That's the nature of online marketing today. For a few $100s, you can try stuff and you can start to get a sense in a couple of hours, a couple of days, if you're on the right track. And if it doesn't work, you kill it off. The old school stuff was, I've come up with a strategy, it's the right strategy, we're all head first into it, and you get way down the track and you've worked out, well, in fact, it didn't work. It was a dead set loser. Today, it's really easy to take those small little steps forward, invest a little bit, and try, and if it doesn't work, knock it on the head and try plan B. Businesses need to be doing a lot more of that testing, A/B testing, alternative options around their marketing.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is you have an idea, you don't know if it's going to work or not. You have to let the market decide, right? Put your idea out there and let the market decide. And it goes back to my whole thing. You can have a podcast. I hear people all the time, well, I don't know. I don't want to be on camera, or I don't like the sound of my voice. But it's not about you. It's about you have a message, you have a skill set, you have a passion that you can express to other people, and let other people decide if what they like about you is true or not. It's not up to you to judge. You're your biggest critic of all time. And if you continuously critique yourself before you take action, you're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to get to that spot.
It's funny. I can, remember a few distinct occasions where, we've been sitting around trying to come up with a campaign, and somebody put something on the table, and there's this eye roll that happens around the table, and everybody sort of thinks, that sounds bloody stupid. But the deal is we test it, and we've been really surprised sometimes about what's worked. And you're right, the market's decided that this is the message, this is the problem we need to solve. We're going with that. But in our little sheltered world, and we're not out buying it, we're just supplying. We've got these biases and our own opinions around it. But just by testing things, we've discovered some great insights around the solution and what the market's looking for.
The market.
You got your victory dance? Well, I got it right here. Yeah.
That's right. The market will decide whether or not your product is worth buying, and if it is,
Show me the money.
All right, that's what it's all about. Steve, hey man, thank you very much for coming on the show. I always enjoy talking marketing with people. Is there any last minute stuff you want to let our audience know? We've been popping your book here. You can get it on Amazon. But anything else?
No, I think we've covered a bit of ground today, guys. It's been great chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you very much. And just so you guys know, I don't think we said it. Steve's in Australia, so technically it's Tuesday. He knows what's going to happen in the future, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the way it works.
Sell Amazon.
Yeah, he told us he's going to buy a lotto ticket for us and let us know what the numbers are. So hopefully that works out. All right, Steven, thank you very much for coming on the program. We really appreciate your time. Have a good one. That's all we got for you guys, lady.
Great, guys. Thanks. Have a good
Ladies
day.
and gents, peace.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
And we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation, or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.